Hey friends, welcome to Woman-Owned Wallet, the podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Dare, a serial entrepreneur who has already made all of the money mistakes, so you don't have to. Now I'm working on my money mindset, expanding my companies, and having open conversations with women around a subject that shouldn't be so taboo, money. My company, Woman-Owned Wallet, and I are determined to help you foster a more positive relationship with your wallet and help you create a life that makes you say, wow. Hey, moneymakers, welcome back to another episode of Woman-Owned Wallet, the podcast. Amanda Dare here. I am so very excited to be opening up season 7 with one of my new besties. We always knew we were going to be besties, but now we really are. And I just can't wait to learn more of her story today with y'all and really just fall deeper and deeper in love with her in our friendship journey. So thank you so much, Nachely, for coming on the podcast.
I am so excited to be here. I always knew we'd be besties too, because you just have these great aura and the vibes and the joy that you bring into any room you walk in. It's so special.
I feel the same. Seriously. Like, we're actually sitting in her amazing Cuban cafe right now, Sweet Colada. Not me having my 15th guava matcha of the year. I'm so obsessed with all of the food here, y'all. I had the ham and cheese empanadas this morning, and I don't know how you get the dough so flaky and crusty and just delicious, because I've never been much of a cook, but damn.
I can teach you. Yeah, I'll show you. Don't bring you in the kitchen, I'll show you.
So we'll take it from the podcast to Woman-Owned Wallet, the show.
Yes, exactly. A live cooking show.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, dreams do come true.
Yes.
We're going to make it happen. I'm so excited. So maybe we'll all get to see the
behind the scenes. Yeah.
The magic that happens in the kitchen. No gatekeeping.
No gatekeeping, no. Whatever recipes we can share, I'm more than happy to. And I tell people all the time, even Cuban coffee is so special because it's made with love.
Yeah.
There's really no secret recipe to the coffee. It's just, this is how I've always made it. This is how my family's always made it. And I'm more than happy to teach you so that you can make it at home, or you can make it for your family as well. And I've had other coffee shop owners ask me, and I'm like, please come in. I'll show you. We don't gatekeep. This is very cultural. And if you go to anybody's house, you're going to get very similar things. So
I love that. And I love that because the idea of sharing your culture is it's so special, but some people are so protective, of it, that you in a way, you're being protective of it by sharing it.
Yeah, it's perseverance.
Yes, exactly. So how do we preserve that moving forward? Well, the goal is to share it actually so that it can continue on. And I just love that you're being open with that, especially with other business owners. I mean, I'm obsessed with other business owners. I feel like we need to always be doing everything.
Struggle.
We get it.
Yeah.
I watched your stories this week. One of the reels that you did that we were all the crazy things that happened.
Oh my gosh. And I only put the things that are PR appropriate. I didn't put the things that would be an HR nightmare, or I didn't put any of that controversial stuff on there, because there were so many things that happened in a week that at one point I was like, I have to start writing these down, because this could be its own show in of itself. And with getting our umbrellas stolen and having our toilets backed up, I mean, it was just that was just a week in the life.
I know, right? People don't really realize the maintenance and responsibility, or I don't know, just what comes along with owning a storefront or owning a restaurant. There's so much random stuff that goes wrong that you as a customer will never see, because we're behind the scenes, masterminding it all.
Well, I told my fiance made a good point the other day, because we were frustrated at the cleanliness and the upkeep of things. And it's normal wear and tear. A lot of the times it is a chip paint, or the flooring, or a baseboard that's coming undone, or, it is wear and tear. And we've been open for 9 months. And he made a good point. He said, do you not realize that we took over an old house? This is a shotgun house. This is now our house. And we have to keep up our house. And we need our employees and our staff to think this is our house that we have to maintain. And if you take pride in it, as you take pride in your home, then it allows us to have a different level of respect. And that was a really good analogy that he used. He's like, we took over a shotgun house and we made this into a cafe. This is still a house. There's a living room where people can sit down and gather. There's still a kitchen. Like it's still a home. And so if we just take that and put it into that perspective of we have to keep up, we have to have a level of respect, just as we would for our homes.
I love that because the way that you've designed the space, like to your point, is so beautifully homey. Mm-hmm. It's so welcoming. It's so open. And I do want to talk a little bit about like how you chose to design this space like that, because I feel like there's an interesting story behind it that probably your bestie Mike told me. That's like, it is like a living room. And like, why did you make that choice next to the actual like cafe as you walk in? The second room that you walk in, to your point, being a shotgun house, you walk kind of straight back. And so that second room back is like a living room. Mm-hmm. And like, why did you decide to make it like that?
Well, long story short, or should I go? I'm going to go the long way. Yeah, let's just take the long route.
We want to hear all the details.
Yeah. So my mom has a restaurant, Sweet Havana, and it's on Fern Valley in Shepherdsville. It's an amazing bakery. They wholesale. They do full service catering. It is a restaurant. There's 2 event spaces. It is this like headquarters of all things you could need for a party, an event, or just for your home. And so when she opened that, it's located in a primarily Cuban demographic area. So it is actually, Okolona is known to be a very hot spot for Cubans. They live there, and it's starting to become, I say, like a little Miami, because even the houses, you'll see that a lot of them, the garages have been converted into little side apartments. And in Miami, that's called an efficiency. Mm-hmm. And efficiency is you convert your garage into a house, and it's a custom thing, I think, that travels with us from Cuba, because in Cuba, there's no access to real estate. So you can't buy property. Most of the time, it's either been built many, 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 many decades ago, or you're building on top of what you already have. And so most houses will get add-ons. They'll add a second story. They'll add a backyard. And then on that backyard, they'll add 2 more apartments. And then you have the grandma and grandpa live in the front of the house. Kids live upstairs, and then the other kid gets married, moves into the back. And that's just kind of how people live. Like, you just build on the house. And that's how Okolona is becoming. So if you go down to that area of town, you can actually drive by and you'll start seeing like, oh, look, that apartment has a front door. That's interesting. Or that garage has a front door, which is really interesting. All that to say that my mom's restaurant is culturally very aligned with Cuban. And if you go there and you're familiar with Cuban culture, or if you're from Latin America, you understand it. You get it. You walk in, you're like, I want this, I want that. There's no questions about it. The people that work there, some speak some level of English, but it is not a requirement to speak English to work there, because most of the clientele is Spanish speaking. And the people that don't speak Spanish that go there, a lot of them being immigrants, but some of the Americans, they already know. They're like, oh, I know exactly what I want. I know what coffee I want. I want this, this, this. And they point to it, and they get it done. And I kept thinking, I'm like, how do I take the essence of this and replicate it? And it's really hard without having that teaching moment, without inviting people, creating a space that's inviting for people to not feel like they're, having this out-of-body experience. And I had a boss at the time tell me, when I go to Sweet Havana, I feel like I'm on vacation. Oh. And I said, that's interesting. And he's like, because I don't understand anything. I don't really know what the food is. It's just good.
Just a completely new experience outside of their daily life in that way.
And the language being spoken there is not English. And it's just... But he also mentioned that it does come with the uncomfortable of having to put that extra thinking hat on to figure out what to order, or to figure out what to get. And that, to me, that's always stuck with me, because I said, how do we remove the barrier? Right. How do we remove the having to sit here and translate or figure out or read a menu? And so when my parents came to me at the time, I think it was 3 years ago, they said, we want to expand. And they asked me to go and help them find a location. They said, we just want to expand. We are looking for the next location. At this time, I was working in real estate. So they're like, can you reach out to somebody in your circle and see if they can help us find a location? So we did that. And as we were looking at locations, I realized that they didn't need a lot. It's really hard to replicate what they have because their business, they don't have just one business. It's not just a restaurant.
Right.
It's catering, bakery. It's all of these things.
The event space.
Yes. And I said, it doesn't make sense to replicate that. It only makes sense to replicate the best of it, which is not the best of it, but I guess.
Like a small part of it.
A small part of it, yes. That would be more the most authentic part of it.
Got it.
Which is the coffee experience with the sandwich, with the pastries. That is where we started, 20 plus years ago in Las Vegas. Like we started with some coffees and pastries and some sandwiches. And
that is kind of in the best way, like you were saying, it keeps you comfortable because you have heard of these things, but you get to go in and have a quick experience where you pick up a pastry, you pick up a coffee, you pick up, it feels very not vacation, but just part of your life.
Yes.
So that kind of easy, simple engagement with things that you do or want to eat every day, like this guava. I want to eat it every day. But just like it is kind of in a way, a low barrier to entry to Cuban culture.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
And I think when we look at it on a personal level and we look at what we're most proud of creating, it would be those items. Because, for example, the guava is something that we have perfected over the years. This is not store-bought guava. This is not pulp that we add sugar to. There are so many levels in the process of making our guava syrup and our guava pulp. And we've always been very proud of that. We have almost 30 years where we've been working on that.
Wow.
The bread as well. The bread, we've hired bread makers and they don't get it right. Our bread maker right now, we taught him, but we've had people come straight from Cuba that made bread in Cuba teach us how to make the bread. So it's not something that we looked up a recipe and figured out how to do. Like it has taken us a long time. So I would say when you look at in our menu, what we're most proud of, it is those very simple recipes that maybe for somebody it does look like a simple recipe, but to us, we know the hard work that's behind curating all of those recipes.
Yeah.
And
that authenticity, that depth.
Yeah.
It's the depth of culture that goes into the bread and into the guava. And like, it is hard to replicate because the depth of the entire experience, of being Cuban and like knowing how it feels, the dough and everything, I'm sure is just in a way just passed down or is just like felt, you know what I mean? And so I feel like that's really interesting. So kind of moving through your space, it seems like that's what you wanted from like the living room space was authenticity.
Yeah. And so when we created this, when we were looking at the coffee shops at the time, we said, we don't need a whole lot of space. We just need a quick grab and go. And something clicked for me. And I remember telling my parents, hey, let me take this over. It was actually my stepdad said, why don't you run and become the manager? And I said, I'll do you one better. I'll just open on my own. He's like, okay.
Surprise.
Yeah. And they're obviously been super supportive, but I told them it's hard to work with family and they're very, very active in their business. And I said, I want to step into the family business, but I know you're not ready to retire and I'm not ready to take it over. So let me expand the brand. Let me expand what our favorite things are in a way that we can introduce this to a market that maybe has never experienced it before. So when we found this space and it was a house and it had all these rooms, I looked at it and I'm like, this is it. We're opening the doors to our house. Like this is our living room. And when I think of my grandma, especially, even growing up in Cuba, it was always making coffee and sitting down in the living room, making coffee and sitting down in the living room. And my most fond memories of being in Cuba are all in my living room. They're not in my bedroom. They're not at the beach. They're not outside in my yard. They're all in my living room. And I have so many pictures that I've always had around my house and growing up of my grandma and my grandpa in our living room. And as I started sitting down with my grandma and picking out pictures, which this was over a year ago, I sat down in her bedroom and we started going through boxes and boxes of pictures. It was very clear to me how much memories our house living room held. And it was, you can actually see the same furniture from when my mom was born to right before I left Cuba. It's like a stuck in time. And you could see the same little living room. So my mom was born in the same house I was born in Havana. And the same iron, Cusco, fix this. The same iron stand for the TV that in the 50s and 60s did not have a TV. In the 90s, that same iron stand was still there, but had a newer TV. And in 1995, I had some cousins go to Cuba and bring me my first video game set up. It was like a Nintendo, and it was on that iron stand that I got to put it. So I'm going through the pictures with my grandma, and I'm looking at them like that tortoise shell is still there, and that TV stand is still there, and all of these things were still there. It did not change over, 40 years.
Yeah.
Right?
And the generations.
Yes, the generations, and all these memories from the living room. But what's really special about the living room is how it just made you feel. When you walked in, you sat down, you had a little yap sesh, some chisme, you had a little cafecito. And then when you were done, you were getting ready to leave, you'd get another cafecito because we do a beginning cafecito, and then we do an intermission cafecito, and then we do a cafecito right before you go because you need a little jolt before you leave.
Yeah, you're ready to go back out in the world.
And so when we picked this space,
I thought that I had a lot of coffee in my life. This makes me feel like normal. So thank you.
I can have coffee at 9 p.m. and still be completely fine.
Yeah.
And so when we created this space, I was like, I need a living room. And I try to find things that were very identical to what I had in Cuba. The couch I couldn't find. We had this like red leather couch, and I wish I could have found it. I looked in eBay, I looked everywhere. I could not find a vintage couch like that.
Everybody be on the lookout for Nachely.
Yes, some type of red leather, mid-century modern looking couch. But we did find cameras, and there's cameras downstairs. There's very, very old and vintage cameras, and they all work. But my grandpa was a photographer. And
amazing.
So he had a lot of cameras and a lot of photos, which is why my family has a lot of photos. I think a lot of immigrant families or families that have moved a lot that are not even immigrants but just have packed up and moved so many times, those photos get lost.
They do.
They do. And so we have so many because my grandma, those are her prized possessions, her photos, because those are the stories that my grandpa told.
Yeah.
And so we have...
Not me gonna cry. It's fine.
No, it's... Oh, my God, that's so special.
It's so special, so sweet, and just what a beautiful way for her to honor him, but also for her to receive a beautiful gift from him through that storytelling. Like, that's amazing. And, of course, all of y'all, we
have all of that.
Yeah.
And so we have all the pictures downstairs on the wall. Most of them my grandpa has taken. And again, I have pictures from my grandpa when he started his bike club in the 50s and when he started, and when he built this cabin in the woods because he wanted to teach my uncle how to fish and hunt and how to be, primal. And so it's just all these like little stories are on the walls, and it's so special to me. And I don't take that for granted when I walk from the kitchen back outside. And sometimes I have a plate of food and I'm frustrated because it's maybe not coming out right or not coming out on time. And first thing I see is my mom's face. I'm like, oh my gosh, how special. It's like, it's so personal to me.
And especially like y'all both being here and owning things, Sweet Havana, Sweet Colada, like you are in it together. And I'd actually really appreciate your conversation having with them around like, let me, extend or expand the brand in a new way, but let it also be mine. And I appreciate that y'all have that relationship where you did talk about it and that it is really hard to work with family. I couldn't imagine, so it's just one of those things of like, even hearing how y'all kind of decided, maybe even as a family, or you brought them the idea and then they're like, you know what? Yeah, we're not ready to retire, but we do want to have we do want to have you ready when we are, and what a great place to not only learn, but to expand the entire legacy by having your own space. And then one day potentially having theirs and this, or we see how it goes, But I thought that was really just a really smart choice as a family and as an entrepreneur, and just being like, I want to have my own, and I want to have the experience of having my own so that, I can continue our legacy in like this beautiful way. So that was really, really smart on y'all.
And I would say I definitely did not have any plans to have my own business or my own cafe at that time. They were trying to, I think they've always been trying to plant seeds, and it finally came to fruition. Like, little did I know they were planting these seeds all along. And when they told me if I wanted to take over or open one, at the time, my stepdad's like, hey, I'll open it and you just run it. And I said, I don't know that I want to do that, because it's really hard to run somebody else's vision.
Yeah.
And somebody else's mission and values and all of that. And I see how they run their business, and I see what they do, and I see how much they give into the community, and I support them so much. And if it were up to my mom, I'd be running both. But I actually told her I could not. My bandwidth is only so much with opening a new business. And she would love for me to be more at Sweet Havana and help her out. But it's just the timing of it. I think there will come a time where I will eventually be more involved with Sweet Havana, and I will be taking more of an ownership role, especially as my parents age out. But that time is not now.
Exactly.
And that's okay. I've built something that's scalable. So if we do want to build 10 of these or open in different states or cities, we're able to, because it's there. At the end of the day, it is Sweet Havana that is supporting a lot of the fulfillment that we have here. And so we can go ahead, and now we have a system that works. We can replicate that. And in turn, their business will continue to grow as well. So we're still very supportive. And my goal is that through the Sweet Colada brand, that they will grow as well with me. So
absolutely. And I feel like what you said, like how you can kind of depend on each other for that authentic Cuban, bakery. I'm assuming some of the baked goods you're saying maybe come from them. Or,
so we have because of their wholesaling and bakery business is so big, they have a separate fulfillment center, not at the restaurant. That is where a lot of the baking happens. So it's this warehouse-looking space where it's just all the ovens. There's a humidity-proof room where we have our yeast grow and our Cuban bread. And I'm not even allowed to go in that room. Like, I'm not allowed to touch that door because it's so, the levels of the humidity are,
you don't want to mess up the science.
No, exactly. And they tell me all, like, you're not allowed in there. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm not allowed in there? But that's where we do all of the dough stuff is done in that site for both locations. And then again, a lot of the recipes do come from there. So
well, and it's been beautiful to also just experience the space in a very natural way. Every time I come in here, today I came in and there's 3 people I do. And like I host a lot of meetings here because I always just know it's going to be so delicious. And like, you got to have write-offs for this coffee sometimes. But like for how much I'm addicted to it, I'm like, let's go. So, but then every time I come in and I see people from all different parts of Louisville that I know or that I love, and get to meet new ones. So it does feel like a very warm, welcoming space, like your goal was. And it's coming through, of course, is just what I'm trying to communicate, is that it's beautifully working.
I'm glad.
Congrats.
I love it. That's probably one of my favorite.
Hold on. Yes. Gotta do a little bit of my fun sound.
Well, it's interesting because that's one of my favorite parts, is seeing people that either don't know each other, but they're just filling the room with a lot of joy and good energy. And then there's a lot of opportunities where I connect people, where I know I have people in this table that I've met through this venture. And then I have another person, another table that I know I have this mission. And that is one of my favorite things, is to just connect people and say, hey, I think you guys would hit it off, or I think you guys would do good. When I opened this place, I had a little bit of an and I talked to Gretchen Hunt.
She's been on the pod, don't worry.
Miss Save the World Gretchen.
We're obsessed with Gretchen.
Love Gretchen.
I sent her a photo of us today, and she's like, my loves. And we're like, yeah.
Shout out Gretchen, because she's single-handedly just trying to change the world on a mission. I love her.
She brings us all in, and it's the best thing.
She does.
Obsessed.
And so I was on the Office for Women program here.
The ambassadors.
Yeah, the ambassador program in Louisville last year for the cohort. And I was surrounded by all these women that were just on their missions to just make change, impact their communities. And some of them were still trying to figure out how to impact change. Some of them had been working for years on being a change maker. And I was so inspired by all the women that are just blazing their own trails. I think I had a little bit of a crisis because I come from corporate America. So I said, how am I changing the world? I'm not doing anything to change the world. I have a for-profit business. I don't have a nonprofit. I don't, volunteer. Scratch that. I'm not an active volunteer in the community. And so I felt a little bit.
Because you are running your own business. It's hard to do both.
Not because I don't want to.
Exactly. It's because this takes a lot.
It does. Yeah. It really does. And it's balancing family time with being an entrepreneur. And being an entrepreneur takes a lot of my time. And so the little bit of time that I have for myself, I try to be very intentional with my family. And so when I was going through the program, I felt like I am not doing enough for my community. I just that constant feeling of it's not enough. Whatever I'm doing, it is not enough. And I sat down with Gretchen and she's like, what are you talking about? You've literally built a space that is so inviting for people to come here and be able to sit down and create ideas and, move their projects forward. And then I started to shift the way I thought of the space as instead of this is just just a. I hate that. I hate when just a, because I think that's such a limiting statement.
Well, let's just remove it. This is a.
Yes, this is a coffee shop or this is a cafe, but this is a cafe that's centered around community. This is a cafe that's centered around collaboration. When we were picking the name Sweet Colada, the K came up a lot. Community, coffee, culture, collaboration, like the CO is just in every word. And colada is our shareable coffee. So coladita, a colada is the coffee that we serve in a couple of ounces. And then we give you little tiny thimbles that you can share with your friends. And so it was just perfect. It was like colada, community, culture, collaboration, coffee, like all of the things.
And the sharing of it all.
The sharing of it all.
With that experience. And that's why you called it that. Like, come on. So wonderful.
I know. Looking back, I'm like, okay, that's just.
I was going to say hair toss,
Yes.
But with our headphones on, it's not really, it's hard to toss your hair.
It is.
But yeah, definitely applause for that.
That was a big, I think, mind shift for me, was realizing that even though I am running a for-profit business, I can still impact change in different ways. And it's not a one-size-fits-all. With time, I think my impact will be able to be bigger. With time, time will tell. I think my actions will show in the community whether I'm able to be a change maker or not. But I live by that. I stand by that. And so I invite everybody to come in here and meet and have their meetings, because it just fills the space with so much positive energy. And I feel it. I feel people leave and it's like this heavy joy that just looms over. Instead of, when like people come into your space and they have negative energy and they leave and they just suck that positive energy out of you, the opposite happens here because people do come, have all these brains,
it's like filling the cup.
Yes.
Metaphorically, literally.
Yes. And they do all these thinking and talking and then they leave and I'm like, oh, it feels so good. I feel like those people are leaving, but they got something out of it other than just food and coffee, So.
Yeah. And I mean, the nourishment alone of the food and the coffee and the way that it fills your belly, the way that it fills your mental cup is like, it's such a beautiful experience. And to see all of the the things that you're saying, and like I've watched it all happen, and it's so true and so real. And I would actually love to just like deep dive a little bit together into the idea, because I felt the same way that you felt so many times of like, am I doing enough? Like, woman-owned wallet has always been, I mean, made profit, I don't know, but been a for profit, right? It's hard.
Yeah.
But it's always been approached as like a community kind of momentum building. Let's have the conversations. Let's do the things together. It's always had that. But when people have come in, you know, I just closed my storefront down. So like I've been going through all the things that I used to talk about in the storefront in my mind. And people would come in a lot and be like, oh, is this a charity? Because I would say we put money in the wallets of women. So I can understand how it's like a little bit confusing and how you might not recommend that. But then they would also say like it should be. It should be a nonprofit. It should be. And I think that people have a misunderstanding around that. But I think there's a deeper conversation that a lot of women I speak to about their businesses feel some kind of, I don't necessarily want to identify it as shame, but I don't have another word right now, around being for profit versus a nonprofit if they're doing some kind of community work. And I always felt frustrated. So I was like, well, women also deserve, women deserve and women should, and women do have their own money and that can actually make a massive difference with it. So I would communicate that, but also like, yeah, buy something in the store and enjoy it and put your investment into women. Like it doesn't have to just be nonprofits.
It doesn't have to be mission driven.
Yeah.
Even if you don't know the person's mission, you should, I get what you're saying.
It's like, it's hard to fully conceptualize a little bit for me, but it just has happened so many times that throughout my 6 businesses, people are asking me if it's a charity because I'm a woman running it. Like that's what's behind it. It's like, well, you're doing this nice stuff because you have a mission. It must be a nonprofit.
Right. And you're sharing this feminist mission. So I think a lot of times that is associated with a nonprofit or some type of, driven mission.
Supporting women must be charity. And I'm like,
which is the irony of it, because
does women supporting you mean it's charity?
I'm just,
what?
It's kind of infuriating because it's so ironic that you're actually trying to do quite the opposite.
Right.
And you should absolutely value women. And I think even a nonprofit would not be able to be successful if it didn't have right funding. There's no way a nonprofit can succeed. And maybe no way is a big, broad statement, but it's really difficult for a nonprofit to succeed if there's no form of revenue, whether that's grant money or membership money or fundraising efforts. It's just, and I'm not in the nonprofit world, but there's no way anybody can sustain anything without money.
Exactly.
Right? And so even if it were to be a nonprofit, it doesn't mean it's free.
Exactly. And I think that's what I kept kind of getting at was like they would ask for discounts, or they would ask like the same type of person that would come in with some kind of negative energy around the word feminism would then, and I don't mean this negatively, but I just don't have another way to say it, is like they would demote it to a place of charity because it was about women. And I'm like, of course there are charities for women. Of course there are charities for everyone in different ways. But like you're trying to demote it into a place of women are desperate and asking for, more than their fair share in some kind of way. And I would just like to have what you were saying about people just bringing in some kind of negative energy and leaving with it. I would always take that time to try to de-escalate their thoughts around the word feminism, because it has been incorrectly defined as misandry, which is hating men. And I was like, no, like my best relationships have always been with men. I'm in my feminism era, which is just the equality of social, political, and economic equality for women. And I'm not even looking like there was nothing
the bare
negative.
Minimum being
That's what I'm trying to say. Like, dude, you're coming in here so hot.
Yeah.
Like, chill. I'm looking for the bare minimum. I'm looking for how do we get
on
everybody
the same level here? Yeah.
And so even recently, I've stopped saying like equal rights, and I've just started saying equal respect, like the respect for one another, both ways. I mean, all in the circle. The equal respect is really what I think we're missing, because we are in this hierarchical society. And I'm like, if we have that level of respect for everyone, that puts us all on the same plane. You know, it puts us in the circle that community needs. And so a lot of what I did talk about was community driven, was mission driven. But I just always kind of felt like people suggested to me so often, and not even just about my business, but other woman-owned businesses in front of me should be charities or nonprofits. And I'm just like, I mean, chill out.
But I think to your point too, I think language matters.
It does.
And the word feminism has, over the last couple of years, not couple,
it's been a while.
It's been a while.
It's usually angry feminist.
Yes.
And I'm like, well, that doesn't mean the same word. When you put a, adjective in front of a word, that changes the meaning of the word. So let's just use the word feminist, and here's what it means.
And I think it's just the connotation, the way that it's used, the way that it's marketed, the way that it's put on.
Listen, the marketing
the
is
news. It is difficult.
Yeah.
It's just one of those words that I know in my ignorance in growing up, the word feminism to me meant something negative.
Yeah.
And that was
same.
And that was me, again, in my ignorance of being high school student and just the circles maybe that I was around. I just it's like, that doesn't sound like something I want to be a part of. It just didn't sound.
I think people do equate it like racist, feminist. They say ist a lot. And I'm like, well, there is something behind that. Like, racist is obviously a negative connotation. Right. So it's almost like they utilize that in the marketing.
And that's the thing.
To go across that. And
language is so important. It is so important. How you say things and the connotation and the wording around it, the context, like all of those things are important. And feminism means something different to people that you talk to depending on their socioeconomic backgrounds.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't, their socioeconomic backgrounds, but also, their history with men or history with other women. Mm-hmm. Like, it can mean so many things. It can be interpreted in so many things because there really hasn't been like...
It's just gone beyond its own true definition to be a cultural, like, a word that we use for... I mean, I don't want to, just for defining things that other than what it is. And I just found, like, when you said the stuff about leading with community and, like, the nonprofit and are we doing enough because we are for profit, just the way that feels, I just wanted to, like, really commiserate with you a little bit of, like, I do often feel that way too, of, like, am I doing enough?
Am I doing enough? Yeah.
And I think it's like, yes, we are, because we are space creators and community builders, and we are constantly connecting people together. And I think that community has been underutilized and undervalued. And right now, I think that's the main thing that's changing the world. And so I do think you're a change maker. I've always thought that. But, like, I see us as the community change, that we need that conversational change. Even having conversations that we're having right now, it's like, let's challenge this and see why it is. Like, I'm always just curious. I'm just a little curious artist out here just trying to survive. But, like, how do we consistently see ourselves as that community change maker? And it's literally, you get to watch it every day in your space. Yeah. And after closing my store, that's something I really miss. But being in your space has, like, brought that energy back where I'm just like, yes, and that's happening, and those people are connecting, and this is what's happening here. And I'm just so appreciative that more spaces exist that I still get to be a part of. So just thanks. Hey, Moneymaker, did you know that one of the most powerful things you can do with your dollar is decide where it goes? Introducing the Woman-Owned Wallet Tour, your new favorite way to explore cities through the lens of woman-owned. From cafes and boutiques to salons and sweet spots, we're mapping out the baddest businesses powered by women. Think of it as a self-guided tour meets empowerment hour. Grab your friends, your wallet, and your walking shoes because we've done the research so you can do the shopping. Every stop you make puts money directly into the wallets of women, and around here, that's the goal. Ready to walk the walk? Visit womanownedwallet.com or come into our storefront in Louisville, Kentucky, and start exploring woman-owned businesses near you. Thanks for calling Woman-Owned Wallet, the hotline.
Women forever. Love us. Bye. This store is very amazing. It's so cool. Your shop is the cutest. I love all the pink. And I love that you're supporting women. Keep on doing what you're doing. All right, bye.
I would say I've had some pretty special moments since opening this place, and I'm going to try not to cry because I remember last year I have this thing with my girlfriends, my besties back in Vegas, and we call it Waffle Wednesdays. And every Wednesday we saw this on TikTok and we loved it. So every Wednesday we sent each other a video recap of our week.
Oh my God, I've seen this and I'm obsessed. Keep going.
It's so
excited.
Good because we're all adults and we have our very busy lives, and it's really difficult to just get on the phone for an hour. Like that does not happen. I don't know the last time you talked to a girlfriend on the phone for 2 hours, but I used to all the time when I was young, and now I don't anymore. And so we did this Waffle Wednesdays where we just record video recaps of our week, and we would send each other like what's going on, what we have, what's new in our lives. And sometimes it'd be like a 3-part video because iPhone only lets you send 4 minutes at a time.
Right. Well, that's kind of nice because it's like, in the best way, like keep it tight.
Yeah. And then you can like fast forward so you can see them at a faster speed too.
Yeah, the 2X.
Yes, it's perfect.
I love a 2X.
And there was a period of time last year where every Waffle Wednesday I would send them, I was crying. There was just tears and and I probably cried every day for the year. And I remember going home after our first day opening and walking into my house and I'm bawling my eyes out. And my fiance looks at me. He goes, "You're crying again? Now what?" And I go, "No, these are happy tears.
These are good ones.
These are good ones. I'm so happy."
Yeah.
But there has been a significant number of times since opening my doors that I've had these like, if this is the last thing I do, I'm so proud that I did this. And one of them was this lady that I met through WBC at one of the
Women's Business
the
Center.
Women's Business Center meetings. And she looked at me, she's like, "I just want you to know that I go to Sweet Colada and I feel it. I feel it." And I said, "Okay, I've never met this lady in my life." She's like, "When I walked into the living room, I saw the pictures on your walls and I just realized your story. And I know." And that's all she said. And she starts crying. And she's like, "I don't know you, but I know you." And she's like, I felt so close to you. And I'm so proud of you. And you don't know me, but I'm going to give you a hug. And I start bawling with her. And that was so special.
Yeah.
That was top moment for me.
Those moments just like literally.
Yeah. And
they keep you going.
They do. And then recently I had another girl and she has been in America for 2 years, and so she has a lot more recent memories of Cuba than I do.
Okay.
My most recent memory of Cuba, aside from the one trip I took when I was 16, was when I was 7. So I don't have fresh, archived experiences in Havana that I can just pull from and say, "This is what I want to do at Sweet Colada." Mine are
The photos.
Yes, the photos, the nostalgia, the anecdotes that my parents tell me, or the little bit that I've seen throughout the movies in my life. So I don't have any fresh archived experiences of taste, especially taste. I own a restaurant where I do not know what this would taste like in Cuba because I don't have a memory of taste in Cuba. I don't have, I don't remember eating a sandwich in Cuba, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so she's telling me that she had the pan con lechon, which is the roasted pork on Cuban bread, and that she felt like she was back home at this cafe next to her house having a pan con lechon, and that ours tasted exactly the same. And it was very emotional to her because she misses Cuba a lot. She has her son back there. And that really touched me because I'm like, I wouldn't know what that would have to taste like. But you felt identified in that moment. And that goes back to just the identity of the place. Like if you are not Cuban, obviously you don't have that attachment to things, but maybe you're learning about something that is authentic.
Yeah.
And if you are Cuban, I hope that you come here and you do feel some type of identity right in the building where you can say, "Okay, this reminds me of this," or I can see my grandma or my mom, or, you have some type of, it triggers some type of nostalgia for you, and that you can feel like you are seen, your heritage is seen, your culture is seen. So those are really, really special moments that I treasure and keep so close to my heart.
Yeah, I mean, it's just what beautiful deep validation, especially in the taste category that you were talking about.
Yeah.
It's like, what a beautiful thing to hear, to, to take in for yourself is like, I am doing enough because I'm doing it right, and I'm doing it the way that feels and tastes and sounds and looks. Like I look around even this room and I'm just like, it's just so beautiful and it feels so like it does transport you, but in the most welcoming way, and I think to your point of having the living room like right next to it to where you can have those conversations and it feels so right. And it is the archived memories that you have of, being 7 and younger and like in the living room and all those memories there. Like, I just think that's beautiful because I didn't grow up with a lot of memories in my living room, as much as I did my own bedroom or something like that. So I think the culture of the family, the community being together is just, it's just so deep and so rich. And I'm just beautifully like observant of it and obsessed with the idea of it and excited that it still exists here. But, it's just, I don't know. I think you're doing so much more than enough.
But I don't even have pictures on my walls at home. And
time to put some up.
I know. And I was thinking about it the other day because my fiance does not have a lot of childhood pictures.
Got it.
Because his family is all separated, all scattered. He has a couple baby pictures. And I'm going to frame, his dad recently passed, and I'm going to frame a picture of his dad and him to put on our walls. And I haven't put it up because I'm like, I can't just put a picture of you and your dad on the wall and then have one big blank wall and just one frame. So I'm just trying to curate a bunch of frames so I can just put family pictures on the walls.
All at once.
And we have so many pictures, but that's one of the things that I was thinking about recently because sometimes you wait to take these like aesthetic photos with your family. And these are the ones that you blow up in these canvases and you put 3 of them on the wall. And I'm like, bring back having disorganized chaos. Just have everything on the walls because
the like disposable camera shots. You know what I mean? Like
I don't know, but my mom, when I was growing up, she had like every grade picture.
Yes.
And she had the one with the little round ones that you would put like first grade, second grade, third grade. And I was thinking about it because I don't have any of my daughter. I have some of them printed, but not in frames. And I go, I don't have any of this. My mom still to this day has those frames in her house. She has all these pictures that have just moved with her from house to house. And I'm like, why don't I have that? I should start having more of those memories.
The memory keeping of it all.
So when we move houses, we take it with us. And then eventually when my daughter grows up and has her own house, she can take some of these into her house. Like we don't have that. And I don't know why. I think maybe the digital age has just shifted.
Yeah, we don't print them as much. And we don't.
No.
It's so fast how many we take.
Yeah. I also think there's something to be said about growing up in a very, I wouldn't say cluttered, but just unorganized.
I know what you mean.
Home.
Like we weren't trying to impress anyone because no one saw our home unless they came over. So right now I feel like it's like the millennial gray and
my house is millennial gray.
Oh, nothing is out. Like it's sterile.
Yes.
And I think you're basically saying the opposite of that, which warm, I guess. And like,
is it social media that changed that for us? Where now you have to be aesthetic? And
I think it had to be.
Like
people
God
didn't
forbid,
want to show their mess, quote unquote.
Right.
And I'm like, but it's your collection. It's your story.
It's a lived-in house.
Yes. It's your life.
It is your life. Like, God forbid I show my kitchen table full of stuff, but when you get home and put things on the kitchen table, like, so what? It's going to get clean. It's going to get moved and put away, but
it's lived in.
Yeah, it's lived in. And I think we've stopped. I think we've just started to curate and be so selective about the things that,
It's around the judgment of so many people that will never come to your house, that will never meet you, that are out in the world however many miles away, and because there's more of like a eagle eye kind of on all of our social media pages. It's like you just feel like unless you can't be some kind of quote unquote perfect, which doesn't exist, then like you can't show your life. You can't tell your story. And I'm just like, here's the messy middle of it. Like I show up, hair messed up, no makeup, but whatever, because you gotta just keep telling your story. And I feel like we all need to be witnessed but we need to be witnessed from a place that without judgment to be able to become ourselves. And that's what I'm trying to allow people to see is like, there's so much more to the story, which is why this podcast exists and why I'm so happy we're here having these conversations.
Yeah, I think, there's something to be said about a cleaned up frame. Like, don't get me wrong. I think if you're doing a video and there's clutter, it's going to get somebody that's watching to swipe, right? They're like, they don't want to see mess. It's
like
kind of
distracted.
It's distraction. And sometimes people like associate that with a negative. But
does it remind them of their own mess? You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Like, maybe. I don't know.
Like,
maybe just go to school to become a therapist at this point.
Hey, let's go.
I'll help everybody. Help on the entrepreneurs. But yeah, like it's like, what does it call back for them? And it's usually their own something about themselves.
But there comes a time where it stops being genuine and it stops being authentic. And I think of, I was having this conversation with my mom this morning because she wants me to help her with her social media and posting photos at Sweet Havana. And she sends me all these beautiful pictures that she had a professional photographer do. And I'm like, that looks beautiful. What is it? And she's like, oh, it's a burger. And I'm like, I had no idea that was a burger because the picture's just so beautiful. I didn't even notice the inside of it. It was
just like more artistic.
Yes. And so I go, I can't post that. It's not going to do well on social media. And she's like, well, what do I post? I'm like, why don't you talk about the burger? Like, why don't you just like record yourself talking about it? And she's like, well, I don't really know how to, she's older generation. It's not hard.
It's just that we've had different mediums, you know? So like a really beautiful picture was their medium of how to get that captured.
Right.
And ours is like, it is a little bit of the messy millennial.
Yes.
So just like, we've been through it all. We're going to get through it all. Let's just tell the story.
That's where I feel like, again, we can stop. It's easy for people, especially entrepreneurs, to stop being genuine and authentic when they try to wait to be perfect or wait to have the perfect shot or the perfect picture. And I used to hate talking on the camera or wearing a microphone. I used to hate it and cringe. We were just talking about it, cringe when I heard my voice. I'm like, oh, let me just put that on mute so I can edit it. And now I don't even, curl my hair. And now I barely wear makeup when I do videos because I'm like, people don't really care. They just want me to say something and move on with their lives. Like they're not nitpicking at things. And
I do agree. Like there's so much content that we're engaging with it, but we're not so intense with it the way we were when Instagram started.
Yes.
And that there was less content available to us when I started my businesses, and when I was 20 years old, there was only Facebook. So like, it's like once Instagram started and I was learning, you did want to get the perfect shot.
Yeah.
Because there was no video.
Right.
And or there was like Vines that were like 8 seconds. Which were just,
Vine. Bring back Vine.
I know. And I think I don't know. I just think something's happening with Vine. And I think it's going to come back.
We'll
but
see.
That's just dreams. That's just hopes and dreams. But I do feel like there is a peak. There's like a bell curve to everything. And like the peak of it, we've passed of the perfect. The shot is, whatever place, you're right in the right spot. And now it's in the information that you're sharing versus is my makeup perfect or whatever.
People don't even have the attention span.
They don't.
To look at the video long enough to see if you have makeup on. They just swipe. Unless you are a makeup artist or in that space, in that beauty influencer space or content creation.
Where they're learning. They're learning from you how to do it.
They're like, I don't really care if you're wearing makeup. Just tell me what's in that. Or, tell me the story. Or
tell me if you liked the makeup that you used.
Yeah.
Like you want a recommendation from someone that's like a friend and everything.
It's the validity of it.
Well, and like you've said a few times, you're raising a daughter. So I feel like her generation is so different. Obviously, they have a different medium, but they can like sniff out like BS so fast.
Oh, my daughter is always like, that's AI.
Yeah,
AI. I'm like, how do you know that's AI? That's crazy. But the AI, I'm scared for the world that's to come. I'm scared.
I think it'll be the same thing. There will be a bell curve where it gets crazy. It's going up the bell curve, and that top of that, the graph, that goes from low to high and then back down to low, that bell curve is like we're rising in it right now. And then I always compare it to like when the internet started, we didn't know what to do with it. So we just did everything. And I feel like we're just doing everything and we'll find the other side.
I'm not even scared of AI for myself because I feel like I'm pretty good at sniffing it out, and I am pretty. I'm a like.
Are you scared for your parents? Because
I'm scared for my parents.
The scamminess.
Yes,
I'm scared about that too.
Yes, and so for me, like I know my mom will send me videos that she'll see on social media to share. Like, hey, did you know this was happening? And I'm like, that is AI.
Yeah,
and it makes me so angry that it's not that it's influencing me, like our generation
It's
or our
skewing
kids. It just
parents.
exactly, and it changes this whole entire demographic, like this entire generation's way of thinking about things. And like a perfect example for me was like the Bad Bunny's halftime show.
Yeah.
The picture circulating of Bad Bunny wearing a dress was not real, and I've seen trusted or quote unquote trusted members of the community who have posted those pictures and said some derogatory thing about him because he's wearing a dress, which I think that in of itself is bonkers.
Yeah.
But
let's get through that.
Yes,
But I agree with you, yeah.
But they were sharing these pictures, so then you had other people who feel very passionate about men in dresses jump in, and to me it was like the misinformation scares me because like I said, I can sniff it out. I know it's really, for the most part, I can tell, but my parents can't, and so it's just skewing the whole mindset of this entire generation.
I think I completely agree with you. And I have had to tell my parents as well, like, that's AI or this is not real or, something like that. And it is difficult because they're, they are from a different generation. Like that's just the reality. Their mediums were different. But it is like, it's a distraction as well. It's like they're utilizing it in a negative way to generate divisiveness, to bring out
it's population
anger.
Control.
It's like it's so nutty the way I'm like, oh, this is just more marketing in a way for the political landscape that we're in. And it's trying consistently to divide us. And the only thing that I know about you and I that will forever be true is that we're not trying to divide.
No.
We're always trying to unify. And in that way, we are the change maker because that's the change that needs to happen. That's the change that's craved because we want to be together. You want to have those pictures, with your parents and with your grandma and like with your daughter. You want to have all of those moments in the living room together where you're not divided by something that is not real and did not happen. And now you're talking about if it's real or not. Like it's a distraction from community, from family, from relationships, and it's causing the divide.
Yeah.
And that's the part personally that scares me. And I agree that it's the part that scared you, I think is what you were saying as well, is like, I don't want to lose my parents in their, in the last third of their life.
Yeah.
When I'm in the second third, like I want to be close to them, but like where the information and like almost we're the parent, we're like guiding them on what's real and what's not. And without even maybe Maddie does it to your daughter of like, Grandma, that's not real.
She thinks everything is AI though. Like she'll see somebody skydiving and she's like, that's AI. I'm like, no, that actually is true. Yeah. I have. I can't.
Yeah. But it's like, we're like in between those two generations.
Yeah.
And it's a lot to manage, and we're entrepreneurs and we're trying to do good for the community.
When I was little, I remember thinking to myself a lot, united we stand, divided we fall, because that's what is written in, our documents here. And the patriotism that came from like being united and our differences uniting us. And I've always stood on that. That's something that I remember, especially after 9/11, there was this whole sense of patriotism we as a country, no matter where you came from, you were so proud to be American. We used to sing proud to be American and all that stuff. And I remember like 10, 11-year-old me crying, because I was so passionate about America. I love this place because look how different we all are and how we're able to unite in grief, and we're able to unite also in a sense of community. And I think that's always just, honestly, I think that was just such a traumatic moment in my life that's probably why I am always seeking community. It's just that sense of we united, we stand, divided, we fall. And I think, Amanda, you're a lot like me in that we see the best in people until proven wrong, right? Like I will give everybody the benefit until proven wrong. And I will show up for you if you show up for me. Like we I'm right there. I'm your girl. Well, we ride it on, but there's something to be said about people who are, a little bit more skeptical too.
Yeah.
So it is hard when we have all these divisive things going on in the world to keep the faith and being united, or being the people that are like, let's get together and let's do more of this and more of that. And we do have to hang on to that.
We do. And I think the one thing that is united, and that I try to not relish on, but I think the way that you just said it is really, really hit me just right, is like we're currently united in grief. All of us are hurting because we're not as connected to one another, because there is distraction from our relationships in whatever way. And I really do think that we're united in grief right now. And like, how do we get through that, like as a country or as a world? And it's like, how do we get through that? And it is through community spaces, and it is through how do we generate the openness and the vulnerability every single time, even after you've been let down. Like the amount of times I've been hurt because my heart was so open, you know, like I've gotten through every single one of those. I'll get through the next one. But if you get your heart hurt by anyone, platonic love, romantic love, across the board, family love, like it just is like, you don't always know how to recover from that. And you do block people off. And that's where some of that distraction
your defense
comes
mechanism.
in. The defense of it all. And I'm just like, my defense is to continue to be more of myself and more of, share through the joy and share through the rest and share in the resistance of this hierarchical structure that I'm not interested in being a part of.
I think that's the thing, is
it's like that sharing. But it's hard to get up every day and do it when it literally, I can't watch every single thing, or I can't be caught up with everything. And I just think that is one of I'm definitely like interested in it, but I can't let every single thing that I can't change affect me.
You have to protect your peace.
You have to be able to change what you can change. And that's what we do that's why we are change makers. We change what we can.
But I think there's something, you just touched on it, to continue to show up. And it is in your nature to continue to show up. It is in my nature to continue to show up. And it doesn't matter if one day I'm having an off day and I say, this world's going to go to crap. Like, okay, whatever, I had an off day. But realistically, I know I'm going to show up. I know I'm going to continue. I know I'm still going to be positive. It's just who I am. That's how I've been wired since I was born. It's not going to change because of what's going on. And it's for some people, the defense mechanism is to deflect and to guard themselves and say, I don't want to trust people, I don't want to trust governments, or I don't want to trust certain things. But then there's that whole other group of people that's like, that's okay, we don't like the way it is, but we're going to change it. And there's hope. There's hope that it's going to be okay. Like I generally have hope that this country is going to be okay. I believe that whatever's going on is going to get better. I don't know when, I don't know how. I just believe that there are more people trying to do good than people trying to do bad. I think that the good outweighs the bad. I think that...
Well, and it's like cyclical, we go through... When it gets too far one side, it goes back to the other side. Like the pendulum swings, both ways. And it's just like, how do we keep it in the middle so that everybody can be as free as they want to be?
Think of pre-civil rights movement. I'm sure people were like, this country's never going to get better.
It's never going to do anything. No,
of course. Never. I'm just going to have to move to another country to make it.
They had less information. They had less understanding of who was all, fighting, that they maybe weren't alone in that fight. So at least we have the connective social media to be like, none of us are alone in the fight. And it's like, how do we create the next system that, to me, I used to like want to burn the patriarchy. I'm like, and I'm like, no, they're totally taking...
We can coexist to a certain extent.
It's just hierarchy. It's just who's on top. And that's the power grab that I'm just like, you know what? That's not my thing to break down. It's not... One, I think it's going to happen to itself. It's like the Barbie movie where they like all go to Dojo Casa house or whatever. But it's like it's not men, women. It's hierarchy that I have an issue with.
Yes, and that can happen. It
happens in women.
It happens
in men. And that's what I'm trying to say is like, instead of burning hierarchy with patriarchy, we need to open ourselves to what matriarchy is. And in matriarchal systems, we center the future. centering the future and surrounding it and then adding what we can add and not expecting ourselves to add things that we can't add to the center of the pile. And when the future is centered, when the children are centered, when the marginalized are centered, and we each give to that middle, the future is what matters. And we all want to be thinking about future. And in a hierarchical structure where it's like one person on top and then it goes down the line in this pyramid, you can't see anything good. Like you can't see anything like beyond the top. But like, what's the future? It's the person at the top. But what the circle does and putting it into the middle is everybody benefits from that future and everybody can see the future together. And if we can't see it, then we don't know how to interact with it. So that's what I'm trying to do is have matriarchal system, which is circular centering the future. And if the more we can talk about that, the more we can get that out there, that's how we create the future, I think, is that centers the future. Hey, Moneymaker, if you're listening right now and thinking, wow, I love shopping woman-owned, and now I see how much good my dollar does when it's in the wallets of women, then guess what? We've got something just for you. While tuning into our podcast, you can head over to womanownedwallet.com and shop our online store with free shipping on every single order. No code needed. Just click and check out. Support a woman-owned business, enjoy that free shipping, and feel good knowing that your dollar has done some serious good. You're not just shopping, you're shifting the economy. And we can't wait to wow you on our website, womanownedwallet.com, with free shipping on every order.
I love it here. So beautiful. Love the don't be a dick things. Gorgeous. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Women forever. Love us. Bye.
I was going to say, because you touched on hierarchy, and I think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And the number one need that every human has is safety.
Yeah.
Right? And I think of, the powerful statement that a city that's safe for women, it's a city that's safe for all. I think that just has so much to do with what you're saying. If we centering women is beneficial because it does include the marginalized, includes, disabilities. It does include, it's just a different way. It's the rose-colored glasses.
Yeah.
Right? And
it's the way to see like across the table versus up the stairs. It's like
exactly.
And when you can see everyone that is your potentially your opponent, if you think about that, if you can see all of your opponents, then you know what you're dealing with. But if you can't see them because they're so high up, on some throne somewhere, it's like you just can't humanize that. And so if you can see across the table from someone, you're like, oh, I'm safe because I know who that person is and they're on the same level as me.
Well, and that's interesting.
That creates safety.
I have a theory.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know if this is my theory or maybe I read this somewhere a long time ago and I've made it into my own thing.
Adopted it.
But one of them is, okay, so women and men are so different because I think naturally in our biology, we're just different human beings.
Yeah.
Male and female from the beginning of time have always gravitated towards certain roles. And women have always been the caretakers, the nurturers, the community leaders. And men have always been the hunters, the food, right? The gatherers, go out and use their strength to provide. And as time evolves, I feel like we still gravitate towards those roles because naturally that's just instinctual. I think even if you're not a motherly nature, there's still that nurturing in women. I think men too, there's still that need to provide or that sometimes it is society that imposes that on you. But I do think if you look back at history, those roles have always been a constant, right? A consistent. And so I think that relates to the way we do business and the way we lead because men lead in a more territorial way.
Yeah.
They are like, this is my business. They lead more with the competition. They lead more with guard, right? Like if I don't guard this, then I cannot provide. Or if I don't.
There's no guarantee.
Correct, right? Or if I don't, that sense of competition, I think a lot of times come from that. Like if you're looking back at a hunter.
Yeah, it feels scarce if I don't catch this animal, then I'm not going to eat.
Right. I'm not going to feed my family. Correct.
Yeah. And often they would, leave women in situations that were the safest for them because women are the future. Women birth the future. And so we have to consider women at the center of this matriarchal structure because it is the future. So if they would have us stay in a hut or whatever with a fire, with whatever close to where they knew we were because in a way, I mean, men aren't birthing children. And of course, we're talking about very binary things right now. But men were, in a way, don't take this the wrong way, but more dispensable, which is why they were sent to war, which is why, because if we didn't protect the womb, know, to generate the future, then ourselves as a species would be gone.
Correct.
So that made a lot of sense, but they also regarded women as goddesses and as this thing worth protecting. Yeah. And in so much of what we've been talking about, because of the divisiveness of whatever you want to call it, like because we have enough people in the world, we're not regarded as the same thing worth protecting. And now the hierarchy feels very shifted. If we have so many people, there's literally men out there that say women are just the people that people come out of. This one dude said that. It literally made me want to throw up. He was a pastor and he's teaching this to his entire the flock.
Cringe.
Whatever. But it's like we used to regard life in that way and women's lives in that way as that's part of the reason because we are the life givers, that the womb is what we're protecting. The future is what we're protecting. And that's where matriarchy was. Yeah. By sending the men out to be the hunters.
And it's
like, where does that change when you have the information age and we're not going out doing that thing anymore?
Well, what I think it's so special, and again, this is very binary, but I think it's special because women naturally in business have that sense of community and nurture. And you see it so much more. There's still that competition, but I think it's so much easier for women to naturally walk in the room with other business owners in the same space as them and connect and say, let me help you, you can help me. Than I think men. And it just kind of depends. I've always grown up in a very male-dominated corporate America where my voice is very small and the male voice is very loud. And there was rarely, the examples that I had, there was not a lot of collaboration. There was a lot of competition of who showed the best KPIs or who had the best profit or numbers or who could impact this change, and it was measured. But then when you get women in the room, I think so many powerful things can happen. And back to what you said about putting everybody at the table, it is everybody. And it's not a binary statement. It's everybody. When you can see everybody and what they bring and
when you're eye to eye, it's just not as...
It's not.
It's more human. It's less scary or less outside of your norm or whatever. If you can put it at the same table, put all of us at the same table, you can understand the human experience from each person. Yeah. And I think it's really interesting what we've been able to unlock and discover. And I love it. I love you. I love the change that we're making. You can probably hear the train tracks by, y'all. We're in Shelby Park, Louisville. But I think it's really fun because, Nachely and I just want to kind of, it's a big train. She's a sassy train. But I think it's really cool because Nachely and I are both working on really pulling, Shelby Park to the forefront. And
it's such a cool place.
It's such a cool place. And that's, where Sweet Colada is located. There's so many amazing walkable businesses. And of course, Woman-Owned Wallet focuses on the woman-owned businesses because as we know, we're centering the future. And so women in decision-making positions put up to 90% of their income back into their local community. So that's why we center it. And so if we kind of band together And then like we're going to make a new map that's going to be over in Shelby Park, like the one that we had in Nulu area. And we watched those businesses grow from less than 30 woman-owned businesses to now I just finished the map. There's 54 woman-owned businesses in the last 5 to 6 years. And so I just think that if we can really lift up all of these different communities and to your point, kind of have it to where you know where to go for a community and you know who's in your community and how to send your people over there because it's so cool. Like you can get those community recommendations from business owners when we are in a collaborative state because it does benefit the entire neighborhood every single time someone learns about Sweet Colada or Shelby Park or Logan Street Market or any of them.
I love it here.
It benefits everyone when they go. It's hard to go to a new neighborhood sometimes, especially as a Louisvillian. We're very segmented and segregated a lot of times. And it's just like, how do we engage with these new things? And you're creating that space in a new, in a generally newish area where it's like, it's coming to life. And I know that it's been growing and growing and I'm obsessed with it. But it's just like having that community space to start, having that living room to have that, cafecito, then having that community and getting them comfortable coming to one place, they're going to be comfortable coming to all of the places in this neighborhood now. And like, that's just a beautiful change-making thing that I know you're doing.
I feel like Shelby Park is a little incubator.
Yeah,
it's its own little incubator of, because I've met so many people in the area who are thinking of starting a business or planning on starting a business. And I think from a financial standpoint, the barriers of entry are a little bit easier at Shelby Park than maybe other neighborhoods in Louisville.
Because once, even with Nulu, like you price yourself out so fast.
Yes. But at the same time, I do feel like the businesses that do come to the area are so accepted by the community that is here.
It's beautiful.
And when I opened my doors, the first people that started coming in were the neighbors. The neighbors were walking down the street, walking their dogs all around the neighborhood, and they would support my business. And still to this day, they support my business. And then a lot of the churchgoers on Sundays, a lot of the churches around here, we have some historical, churches in the neighborhood would start coming after service on Sundays. And so much so that we started going to church here in Shelby Park. I was like, oh my God, these people are cool. Like they come and support my business and they have great conversation and they bring their family. So we started going to one of the churches in the neighborhood because we felt such a sense of community here, more so than we did at home where we live. But my business would not be afloat if it weren't for the neighbors that even when we had that snow, we were snowed in. The only way really to get here was by foot. And there's no parking outside because we were snowed completely.
Oh, yeah.
And it was people that were having to take their dogs out and, walk around that would come in and support our business. And so we're so grateful for the Shelby Park. It's an accepting feeling. It feels so... if you walk into space and you're accepted and you're loved, it's really special. It changes how you move in that space. So to come
and how you move outside of it.
Yeah. So to come to Shelby Park and feel so accepted and welcomed, that changed the dynamic a lot for us. There was a lot less of me focusing on how to get people to buy in and more focusing on how to show up more authentically. And so when I look at people who think about growing their... I wish all my friends were my neighbors. Like, come on, please open a storefront right next to me. That would be so great, Amanda.
There's a really cute one across the street.
Come on.
Do I dream about it? Yes. But do I also need a little break? Yes. But I just, I've been trying to send so many people this way.
And there's some cool things coming. There are some really cool things coming. I know 2 restaurants opening pretty soon in Shelby Park. I know on Shelby Street, there's a couple of different things popping up around the place. And I know a lot of amazing people like you that are trying to highlight the history, trying to highlight the neighborhoods, trying to just pay tribute to what's made this place so special. And there are generations on generations that have made Shelby Park their home and Smoketown.
Of course,
for so long before you and I were even here. So it is so special to honor that and continue to celebrate all of what it is.
And you're, kind of going back to the beginning of our conversation, it's like the preserving of it while there is like, new growth? Like, how do we preserve the neighborhood and appreciate the history and the culture and, just move it forward in whatever modern way it needs to move forward? But how do we be considerate of history and culture and preservation at the same time while it grows and while the new business owners incubate and start over here and stuff.
And shout out to Logan Street Market.
Yeah, they really got a lot of it kind of going.
They did, and they're an actual incubator, right? Like they actually literal. And one small business is just be able to grow from there and open up their own brick and mortar, or, grow into whatever they want to grow into. But Logan Street Market has been an anchor here. I remember back in 2020, my first time coming to Logan Street Market, I thought it was so special. But I remember this whole neighborhood being so foreign because I wasn't even from here at that point. I was just visiting from out of town. And I'm like, gosh, there's a lot of industrial. Like there's a lot of construction or like buildings that look like they've been here for a long time. And I didn't see a lot of movement, but I saw Logan Street Market. And now you have, Foco and La Pana down the street just doing great things. Shahar, I remember talking to my friends Vic and Christian when they left Bardstown Road and they were looking for a new location. At that time, I was looking for a cafe and they're like, Logan Street's where it's next. Logan Street's where we're going. And they opened there, and shout out to the Toasties of the world that have been holding it down. And the Idlewild, Blair's been there for, I think she said 10 years, So
I can't wait to go to the Butterfly Garden.
Oh my God.
So beautiful.
You haven't been?
Yeah, I have been.
Oh, you have been?
Been a while.
Okay.
I want to go back, I should say.
I know she's building something special for this season, and she's getting ready to open soon. So
I loved it.
It's so special. Yeah.
Well, we'll get it all together for y'all, and you can just keep checking out Shelby Park and checking out Logan Street Market. Well, the whole Logan Street, all Shelby Street and everything too. That's such a beautiful community. It's really easily connected to Broadway. So if you're used to coming down Broadway, just make sure you take a little right. Take a little right into Smoketown, or I guess it depends on which way you're coming from. But I was coming from like downtown, or on Shelby.
It's like a mile and a half from Nulu.
So close.
It's so close to everything.
So close. So definitely come down and check it out. And really, I'm just so grateful because this feels like my hub kind of to come to in Shelby Park. So I just appreciate you so much. And before we kind of fully wrap up, my goal is always to put money in the wallets of women by allowing our listeners to know how to follow you and check you out. So Nachely, how can they put money into your wallet? How can they follow you? How can they come get a beautiful drink or pastry?
So Sweet Colada, you can follow us on Instagram at Sweet Colada, or Facebook or TikTok. And also our website, sweetcoladaky.com. We have cafecitos. We're open 7 days a week. We offer free delivery. So our prices are not jacked up on Uber Eats and DoorDash. They're just regular across the board on our website. We offer delivery, catering, and mobile coffee pop-up bars too.
Yes.
So more than happy to go. If you can't come here, I'll go to you too.
Yeah, she'll go. So she was set up at Galentine's Bash this year, and at the Women's Business Center of Kentucky has Strong Women, Strong Coffee, and you gave the coffee for that, I remember. So yeah, definitely hire her, put money into her wallet, because as we know, we do good things when we have money. So thank you so much, Nachely, for coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you. And moneymakers, until next time, go out there and make that money. If you want to put more money into the wallets of women like we do, then check out our website, thewomanownedwallet.com. And we can't wait to continue the conversation on our social media. So definitely follow us on our Instagram at womanowned.wallet and on TikTok at womanownedwallet. You can support us by following our podcast on Apple, Google, and Spotify. And don't forget to leave us a review. Thank you for listening to Woman Owned Wallet, the podcast.